Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of week 6. It's pull day. Got some deadlifts and some other stuff on deck today. First, we gotta get our shoes on. So, if you remember, we are on a 20-week cut, and we're in week 6. We've already lost about 10 pounds, which is good, so we're on track for 2 pounds a week. So the goal is to, lose another basically 30 pounds over the next 15 weeks. So that by the time March comes around, we'll be down to 170 is the goal. And like all goals, if we get close, great. If we go further, that's great too. That should put us around 10% body fat. So we should look, mildly shredded by the time we go to Florida for vacation. Let's see. So for warm up on deadlifts, I'm going to put on 155, which, is roughly 50%. It's a little bit more. I was saying yesterday how deadlift and squat are not my strongest. So really I should be doing more, but according to my body weight, but we're just gonna do what we can. Alright. And then let's get this to follow me. Alright, so warm up set 1. And big surprise, camera lost me, but kind of getting used to that happening. Right. So we'll do another warm up at 50%. We'll do another set at 75, and then today our starting weight is 285. So we'll be trying to get 4 or 5 reps of 285 for 3 sets. I should be able to put that there. Get some coffee. I love my coffee. I think I explained yesterday the trick with my coffee is a little bit of almond milk to cool it down so it's drinkable. Throw in my creatine so that I get my daily caffeine, but also get my daily creatine dose, usually about 5 or 6 grams, and 10 grams of vanilla protein powder, which makes it taste really yummy, and I get 10 grams of protein right off the bat. No. Yeah. Forgot to set my timer. But first thing in the morning, deadlifts are hard. Yesterday's workout was a little bit later. Kids were already out of the house. It was quiet. I'll be really interested to see on the footage on the microphone today if you can hear them running around upstairs. That's life. Yeah, so talking about going back to like the goal setting, 10% body fat, 170 is the goal. We've got 15 more weeks to do it. Weigh-ins have been going well. A little bit later, I'll pull up my phone and share my screen so you can see. We'll look at the weigh-in from today. We'll look at the nutrition from yesterday, talk about the goals for nutrition today. Yeah, the workout today itself is deadlifts, obviously. We'll do lat pulldowns, and we'll do single arm horizontal rows, and we will do seated close grip rows on the pulley machine. That's our pull day. I haven't yet done this, but I've been playing around with the idea of adding a second pull day on Friday instead of my accessory day, because I really do need to work on back. It's kind of my one of the areas of my physique that's lacking. But the thing is, I don't always work out on Friday. Sometimes I end up like going and doing some other activity like golfing or just walking or something. So we'll see, TBD, but I may switch out the days. Like if I switched pull to Monday, then my Wednesday workouts could be a second pull day or something like that. So we'll see. Nothing in stone yet. Man, camera kept up most of the time. I'll sit at the end. That active tracking is maybe a little bit much for all that up and downing. Alright, let's throw on the 35s, bump it up to 225. We'll shoot for 6 reps there, and that will be our last warm-up. See, even after that first warm-up, it just already feels so much better. Those first 10, even though the weight is light, it feels so heavy. Your body's just not moving yet, not firing on all cylinders. You know, if I had more time in the day, I would do a longer warm-up. I probably should be doing like some mobility work, some stretching and that kind of stuff. But man, it's just really hard to find the time. So, you know, I try to stick to about 50 minutes to an hour 10 for these workouts, just so that I can get back to life. And that's even with having a home gym. Like, you know, if you're having to drive to the gym, you know, you're adding on another, you know, probably 10, 15, 20 minutes each way, right? So time is valuable. Early on, when I started this, like, I mean, I've lifted off and on over the years, but I got really serious about it almost 4 years ago, I guess, just over 4 years ago. It was in 2021. During COVID, had gained more weight than I wanted, wasn't working out. And so when I first started, I was actually going to a CrossFit gym. So I would go do CrossFit, you know, Metcon type workouts in the morning. and then in the afternoons I'd come back to their open gym and I'd do my just regular strength training, resistance training. And then after a while I kind of weaned off of the CrossFit morning stuff, and just was doing the strength training, and then eventually started to like build parts of this home gym. So, you know, I started with, I can't remember, I probably started with dumbbells and then slowly added like a barbell, added the rack, and then, you know, and then added the pulley system. So just kind of over time built it, probably over, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. And I can talk more about that another time, talk about each of the individual components that I bought and like the flooring and all that, if you're interested. Because ultimately, I believe it has saved me money over the years. That statement has no basis in actual math or fact. It's a gut feeling. But now that I've said it, I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet and we're going to calculate it at some point. And we will look and see if that's true or not. All right. Oh, idiot. Forgot to put on the 10 on this side. Man, talking to you guys is really distracting. Oh yeah, nice. Getting nice and warm. Nice and warm. That one felt a little heavier. You definitely feel the muscles firing more. Now we're ready for, what did I say? 285? Come on. Stay. It's weird. Normally it doesn't move around like that. Alright. $205 plus 50 is 55. Plus 30 is 285. Move you out of the way. Come back. Don't do that. Oh, my 2-minute break will be up by the time I'm done putting these weights on. I'm gonna be out of breath just from moving these weights around. Give myself another minute. Man, get you back. Not super talkative today. Hope that's okay. Hope we can just work out. Once again, what we're doing right now is getting ready to do our first real set, our first active set of deadlift at 285. We're shooting for 3 sets of 4 or 5. Then we have single arm bent over rows, dumbbell bent over rows, and then we have lat pull downs, wide grip, and then we have seated narrow grip rows. Yeah, I haven't experimented much over the past 4 years with other workout splits. I kind of found push-pull legs, and it just really, it clicked with me. Just seem to work with the week. You've got those 3 workouts, and then you can either repeat or you can do accessory work on the other 2 to 3 days. And so that just really, I don't know, seemed to make sense for me. I like the idea of working one general area, but not isolating it, like to only arms or something. I've got a friend who does full body, and he loves that. I've known people who've done upper lower splits, and they love that. So, and then obviously you can't argue with the results of bodybuilders doing bro splits where they do individual body parts each day. Like, you can't argue with their results. But this has worked for me. This has worked for my body, for my schedule. The way it works out is push right now is Monday, pull is Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of like an arm, core, whatever accessory day. Thursday's legs, and then Friday is that another accessory day or an auxiliary kind of workout, maybe like some low intensity steady state like walking or golf or yeah. All right, let's see if we can get 4 of these. I've also recently been moving to split grip because my grip is one of the reasons why deadlift is not my grip. I don't have great grip strength, so I'm trying not to use straps for, in this progressive overload as I add weight. I'm going to see how far I can go before grip is truly, the limitation. I'd like to not use straps. I'd like to build my grip strength. So we'll go with split grip here to give a little bit more strength to the grip, but not have to use straps. Cool, we got 5. So that's a win. Mark that off. Set the timer. Yeah, talk about getting your heart rate up. Lifting heavy, man. That's where the fun is. Let's see.
Let's make safe choices, please. Sorry.
It's all good. What's up, buddy? Yeah, lifting some weights. Still in. There's 4 of them. You're right.
I'm 4.
And you're 4. Yep. Yep, 4 whole pounds on there. Can you believe it? Yeah, it's really heavy. Can you hear me lifting it upstairs? Does it shake the house? Yeah. There's the camera.
Does it see me?
It sees you. Watch out, don't fall. It sees you.
Where am I?
There, you're down here by my hand. All right, buddy. I love you. I want you to be safe.
Is it taking a video?
It is. I'm going to start lifting these heavy weights, so I need you to go outside the room for a little bit, okay? Thank you, buddy. All right. Let's see if we can get 5 on set 2. That'd be cool. If we're at 285, if we can get 6, we could go up to, 305. That'd be cool. That'd be closer to what I should be doing. I should probably be doing something in the 300s for reps, based off of like a roughly 200-pound body weight. But yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I usually do split grip with the left hand flipped, but I have read or I've heard that it's good to alternate so that you don't, build and get out of balance. So we'll see how this goes. Feels weird. By the 4th or 5th rep, it started to feel a little bit more natural, but yeah, weird. Definitely speaks to how much I should be alternating those grips so I can get more comfortable. But yeah, so we got 5, which is good. And I know I've talked about like my overall philosophy of volume, how I like to do my core compound lifts. I like to do those basically like strength training, powerlifting, just because it's more fun. To lift heavy and then to do 4 to 6 reps to me is more fun on those lifts than going a little lighter and getting that 8 to 10 or 8 to 12. And really, I certainly don't really have any fun going light and high reps. Plus, there's always the time factor, right? Fewer reps should be slightly less time, right? But with everything else, I do shoot for that 6 at the low end, but usually shooting for like 8, 10. Once I get to 10 or 12, that's when I go up in weight and then go back to the lower reps. Especially like anything with the shoulders or like that's just arms. Anything that's not really a core lift, a core compound lift. Just because it's harder to control the heavier weight that you get when you're doing these compound lifts. Think about bench, think about deadlift, think about squat. It's you are using your core so much. There's so many more muscles involved to help you with stabilizing. Obviously, you use all those muscles for stabilizing in other lifts too, but you're just set up. You're stacked vertically on these, and so it just lends itself to heavier lifting versus like the bicep curls or something. All right, we've got one more set of deadlifts at 285. We'll go back to split grip the other way. Oh. Here we go. We got 5. Alright, well, next up is lat pull down. So I like a good lat pull down. Also like pull-ups. Kind of alternate those between these workouts. So like if this workout or like this, routine for the next however many weeks, I'm doing lat pull down. The next pull workout that I design will have pull-ups probably. Put these right there. This one here. And I think I'm doing 130 on these lat pull downs. That weight is a little bit misleading on my lat pull downs. I have found, like, when I go to a gym and use their pulley machine, I can usually do more weight or less weight, I can't remember. I think it's more weight, because I think that my pulleys are like maybe like not fully straight, or like there's some friction on them or something, you know. Ooh, that hurt. That was a big bump. Ouchie. You guys are lucky. Normally, anyone in my family bumps their head, there's a big F-bomb. I held it together for you guys. Hope that's appreciated. And yes, sometimes, just like at the gym, it takes a while to get from machine to machine. Clean up your stuff and get set to go. So, it's not a super restful 2 minutes, but it'll be a moderately restful 3 to 4 minutes. Alright, and we're set up. Camera looks fine. Alright, I don't know how many I'm shooting for. 11, okay, let's see. Hey. Oh, I just had to go and make it hard for myself last week. Okay, 11 it is. 11, 10, 10. So even if I get one more 11, that'll be more than last week, which is the goal. So yeah, how are you all doing? Keep on saying that, like, later in the workout we'll look at the nutrition and stuff from yesterday on my phone, but I'm just still trying to catch my breath. Maybe after these lat pull downs I'll have a little bit more breath in between sets and we can talk about it. I think I did okay yesterday, if I remember correctly. I think it was, I think we hit the target calories of 1600 and had decently high protein. I don't know if we hit 180 grams like we're supposed to, but I think we got close. One interesting thing that I did last week was I went and got a DEXA scan and a resting metabolic rate test. So Lindenwood University in St. Charles has a whole clinic, a whole department for exercise nutrition. And you can go, they've got a DEXA scanner, and then they also do a 4-compartment, BSI, so like it's impedance-based electrical current to measure your water. So between the DEXA and that, you can get a pretty good idea of body fat. So the DEXA scan had me at like 23 or 24% body fat last week at about 200 pounds. And then the electrical impedance had me at about 18 or 19%. So they say that it's probably in between there, right? So probably not a full 23%, but obviously, but not under 20 either. So probably like that 21%, which tracks. I've done calipers on the body, and up until last week, my scale that does just dual impedance from your feet, it was measuring around like that 19 or 20. So all signs kind of lead to that, which kind of gives you a better picture. In any one tool on its own is usually not going to be super accurate, but if you have all those different data points, you can kind of get a pretty good, a more accurate estimate, I guess, because it's always estimates of your body composition. So that was cool. I set it up to where I'll come at the end of the cut, I'll go back and we'll do it again just to compare. So that'll be fun. All right. Set 2. All right, 11, got it. So, and you may be like, as I'm talking about these different things, you may be wondering like, what gives you the right to say that, or how do you know you're not an expert? And I mean, you're right, I'm not an expert. I have done research, and I do have experience. So I started lifting weights like in middle school. I'm in my mid 30s now. And basically I've lifted weights off and on, all through college. I did track in college, so was resistance training and doing training for 2 or 3 years at a track. I didn't do it 1 or 2 of those years, but it was Division 3. It's not like super amazing or anything, but I did keep up with training is the point. And then after college, off and on for the next 10, 15 years, would resistance train, or I did CrossFit for quite a while. And then in 2021, it had been probably a year, probably 2, since I had resistance trained or done anything. I'd gained a bunch of weight, and I decided to get really serious. I wanted to look really aesthetically pleasing. I wanted to have a low body fat percentage. I hadn't had a low body fat percentage since college. So I really wanted to get serious about it. And that was the first time that I got really serious about nutrition. And I saw how powerful it was in combination with your resistance training to add on a nutrition layer where you're paying attention to your calorie intake and your protein. And so I lost like 40 pounds. It took me like a year to do that because I kind of lost a bunch and then maintained and then gained some. And I did it a much slower way, but I was learning along the way, kind of what worked for me, how much I could cut, what I could sustain, and that sort of thing. And so I got down to 170 or just below 170 summer of 2022. And I have some pictures of like that transformation I can share. But all that to say, I've done it. And even though I've gotten back up to 210, I think the body composition is more muscle than it was back in 2021. In fact, if you looked at side by side of 210 in 2021 and 210 in 2025, I think there's a big difference. But the goal is still to get down to that 170, try to get down to 10% or just under 10% body fat if we can, because I think that's where it looks really good. And then that'll leave room for like some vacations and just a surplus for a while. If I bump back up to 180, great. I think 180 is a great maintenance body weight for me. So all that to say, I have some experience. I have some things that have worked for me. And then there's just the general science-based exercise and nutrition that exists that I try to adhere to. So I've tried to apply that, and it seems to have worked. So we've got one more set of lat pull downs. One more, come on. All right. So we got 11 on all three of those, that's good. We've got one arm dumbbell row, 50 pounds. So, I was talking about when I got serious about weightlifting and losing weight back in 2021. Some of you that may be where you are now. You're like, man, I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I haven't lifted a weight in 5 years. And I'm overwhelmed. There's so much information. There's so many people trying to tell me what to do. And I can relate to that. There's a lot of competing voices out there, mine included. The only nugget that I will offer is to try and keep it simple and something that you can do consistently. And to gain muscle and to lose body fat is actually simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You just need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to try to eat more protein. And you need to resistance train. You need to lift heavy weights and try to use progressive overload where you lift heavier and heavier, more and more volume, kind of like over time. Not saying that you need to jump crazy weights every week. Like you don't need to go from, 80 or 95 pounds on bench to 135 the next week. You don't need to make crazy, you just need to make slow but steady and consistent incremental gains on your weights. And what I did when I was starting was, yes, there was lots of competing information, so I did a little bit of research and I just picked one voice. And the way that I focus really well, the thing that helps me is actually a book. So YouTube videos like this, are fun. I think they're entertaining to watch. And I've gleaned information over the years from that. But the first thing that I did to kind of build a foundation of knowledge and a focus was I bought Michael Matthews' book, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. I can't recommend the book enough, but it basically just outlines the exact, it's like I said, he says it's simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. Talks about how to find your metabolic rate. How do we find what your total daily energy expenditure is? Here are good calculations you can estimate. He's got a company called Legion that has a website. They sell supplements, but they also have some really cool online calculators. It is my favorite TDEE calculator to go to because it lets you pick from different algorithms, and I like to use the Catch-McCardle algorithm because you can put in your body fat percentage and it's a little bit more accurate. But the algorithm that most people will use is the Mifflin-St. Jeor, I think is how you say it. And it just will take in your age, your weight, your sex, and it'll give you a pretty good estimate right off the bat. So you figure that out, and then you figure out, okay, well, how much weight do I want to lose over how much time? And then you figure out, how many calories you need to be in a deficit. And then part of that is you need to be tracking your calories. So talk about the different methods. You can do it. You can do a food journal, just hand, paper and stuff, and that's free. It's hard. And then there are just a multitude of apps. I just picked one that was the cheapest or free at the time. And then you also probably want to get either, again, like a journal or an app, something where you can track your workouts so that you can make sure that You can see, what did I do last week? What did I do the week before? How do I know I'm actually progressing? I mean, and there's a bunch of different things along the way, like you can do to optimize and stuff, but that's really all there is to it. Like those few things, like figure out your energy expenditure, figure out your calorie deficit and your protein goals, figure out your workout, and then just execute. And then there are things you can do along the way to help make it easier. We'll talk about those after this. I don't know how many I'm supposed to do. 10? Okay, 10 is fine. So, talking about things that can make executing these plans easier on you. When it comes to nutrition, it's hard to beat meal prepping, right? So a lot of you will be like, I don't have time to cook meals during the week. I'm on the go. You know, I just grab whatever's in the fridge, or I just have to go through a drive-through. If you can give up one Saturday or one Sunday a month and say, I'm gonna cook 30 burritos, 30 high protein burritos, it makes it a lot easier to stick to your diet plan. I forget the guy's name. I really like his recipe book and his blog, and they actually sell some of his burritos and meals at Target now under the Counter brand. It's high protein. It's usually about that 10 grams of protein to 100 calories ratio, which is good. It's decent. But yeah, he's got a bunch of like crock pot or like burrito, big, just like meal prepping things. Like how can you get 30, 60, 90 days worth of, meals in your deep freeze? And it makes a big difference. Even if you just go 1 week at a time and you grill some chicken and say, I'm gonna have grilled chicken, and I mean, I know it's like a stereotype, but like broccoli and a little bit of rice, and you say, that's my lunch this whole week. That makes it so much easier. Finding, when it comes to working out, finding a gym that is close, building a home gym, things, finding something that works within your schedule, something that's on the way to work. Maybe they have showers, or they have showers at work. Again, finding ways to consolidate time and maximize those efficiencies will make it. This morning I woke up and I was like, I don't really feel like working out. So any barrier that you can remove, or like if I had to drive, 30 minutes away to my gym and then had to drive back to shower and then drive to work, I'd probably give in. But like, my gym is in my basement, so it's really hard to justify not making the commute. And then I started this video. Like this video series is actually another thing. I'm like, that's gonna help keep me accountable. Maybe you do that. You can put it on YouTube, or you don't have to even do that. You can just, for your own benefit, say, I wanna have a log of what this is. You don't have to film the whole workout. Maybe you film a couple workouts and you get at the end, take a picture and do a body composition analysis, and then you have that every day or every week for the next few months. That's going to be something that will help you remain consistent and will give you a nice satisfaction at the end to see the difference from when you started. So removing barriers and finding things to motivate you kind of going together. So how can you raise your motivation and self-discipline, and how can you remove the obstacles? 10 there too. I'll do 11 on the last one for kicks. And that's one I've got to be careful on with my back. I've kind of got this old injury. I fell off a ladder in my early 20s, just like a 6-foot ladder, but I get like this thing in my thoracic spine if I'm not careful. And this can do it, and so can seated rows if I round my back too much. So I just have to be really careful. I can aggravate that. So I usually will go a little bit. I used to do like 70 pounds at these, but I dropped it down to 35 and then 40 and then 45, 50, trying to build up not the big muscles, but like the smaller muscles around the spine, like kind of like a physical therapy. But we talked about nutrition and like things to make it easier for you to lose weight and be consistent. Some of you may be like, yeah, I'm considered obese. I have a high BMI. My doctor has mentioned GLP-1s like Ozempic and other things like that. And you're kind of wondering, should you do that? I'm not your doctor. I can't tell you whether you should do that or not. I'll just say that right there. What I will say is I have friends, I have family who have done GLP-1s, and they're really effective. And the research is clear. They're super effective for losing weight. So they're definitely, I would just consider them, if you're considering them, think about it as a tool in your tool belt. You don't have to use all the tools in your tool belt, but some tools are better for certain jobs. Some of the things that, like, you know, if I were in that position, that would be hesitations for me, are just like the dependency aspect of it. And what I mean about that is, okay, after you lose the weight, how do you keep it off? So people have talked about just staying on them permanently. I personally don't love to be on a lot of, different medications and stuff like that. So I would want to, if I did that, I'd want to try to build routines and disciplines and knowledge that would help me maintain that lower body weight afterward without the medication. Not a doctor. So this is just personal opinion. Do not take my advice as a medical opinion. And then the other thing that I've seen with people that I know or like just online is, the side effects can be like nausea or whatever. So like it literally just makes you not want to eat, or like you get fuller faster, right? And one of the things about losing weight at a rapid weight or a rapid pace is that it can be hard to hold on to muscle. And so I've talked about this before already, but when you're on an aggressive cut, you want to eat higher protein. And the reason you do that is, number one, it helps you feel full. And then number two, it helps your the thermogenetic processing of food, also increases your calorie output a little bit. And then it also is good for your muscles. I don't know how that interacts, how a high protein diet interacts with a GLP-1. I'm guessing that it, might make it harder to eat a high protein diet because those high protein foods are generally more satiating. So you might feel fuller or get sick trying to eat like a chicken breast, right? Because that's super high protein and super dense. But you can't argue the fact that it's really good at just helping you eat less food and get in a deficit. I think anyone out there who recommends those will tell you how important eating good quality food, whole foods, fruits, veggies, and stuff like that, how important that is, like in conjunction to a GLP-1. You don't just want to be on a GLP-1 and eating potato chips. You're going to lose weight because you're not eating as many potato chips, but your nutrition is going to be crap. So, I don't know, that's just my unsolicited advice. Oh, yeah, 11 on the last one. Notice I'm doing that 10 to 11 range on these, just like I said earlier, on these accessory things. If I was shooting for like 4 reps on that, that'd be so heavy. And talking about that past injury I have, that's just asking to aggravate my thoracic spine. It's just asking for trouble. So going just a little bit lighter in those, medium reps is a better idea for that accessory work. Yeah, got me? All right, last up is rows. Seated cable row, close grip. Looks like I got 10, 10, 12 last week at 130. Let's see what we can get this week. I mentioned this cage earlier in the pulley system. I don't know if you can see the logo. It's Titan Fitness, which, I'm not like sponsored or affiliate or anything. When I was doing the research, when I was putting my gym together, I had a few requirements. Number one, I had a budget. I used the Rogue barbell and plates, but their cages were just going to be like way too expensive for me. So I found Titan. They seemed to be good quality. They had good reviews, and they had different options. So like you can go with a full, 3x3. I went with a 2x3, and I wanted to find something that was that still had accessories. So like the 2x2 was a little, since I knew I was going to be doing heavy like squats and stuff, I wanted something a little bit more substantial. The 3x3 seemed a little overkill. So I went with the 2x3 knowing that I could get accessories like these rolling bar holders. We've got the pull-up bar, and I knew that they had this rack system. Plus, a very important fact for me is you can probably tell these ceilings are super low. I don't even think they're not even fully 8 feet. So I need something that was gonna, I actually had to pull out, there was a drop ceiling. This was the spare bedroom. I had to pull out the drop ceiling so that I could fit this in here and have a little bit of room. And it actually scratched one of the joists when I put it up because it was that close. And then I had to position it just so, because the pulley actually, the overhead pulley system had to fit in between the joists because it's a few inches higher. But yeah, that's how I, the budget, they had to have a short version. It had to be, more than just a 2x2. It had to be, 2x3 or 3x3. Had to have accessories for self-storage. Yeah, and so it kind of ticked all the boxes, which is hard to do, especially the budget one is the hardest one to do. Finding something that's like steel and good quality, but for a cheaper price. So that's the thing where I save money, and then I put a little bit more money into like getting a nice Ohio powerlifting barbell and the bumper weights, just for a little bit of longevity, and they look nice. Where did I get this? This bench is not from Titan, it's from Rep Fitness. But again, I kind of just did some looking around, and I wanted to find something that was going to be, number one, substantial, number two, something that could be stored vertically and had wheels, and I wanted something that was adjustable. And so you'd be surprised once you kind of like write down all of your requirements for what you're wanting, it becomes a lot easier to filter down to find the companies that have or don't have that or meet those requirements. So yeah. All right, I'm guessing probably 10. Yeah, I said 10, right? 10, 10, 12. So let's do 11. And really these close grip rows are like my favorite right now. I think they're the things I need the most. You know, when people talk about back exercises, you know, they'll talk about like wide grip and like lat pull downs and pull ups and stuff like that, or chin ups. I you know, take this for what it's worth. You know, I was watching a YouTube video or read an article or something. Those wider grip workouts are really, they're more working like the middle muscles of your back more. What I find is that these closer grip ones, whether it's, you know, what I'm doing now, close grip or close grip under, those feel like they were working my lats more. You know, I'd have to go, if I wanted to debate with you and, you know, back that up scientifically, I'd have to go research it and see if I'm actually right about that. But that's the way it feels for me, and I watched a YouTube video once. So take that for what it's worth, but I will go do some more research on that because my lats are kind of dainty compared to the rest of my frame, and so I definitely need to work on those more. So that's where I feel like doing some deadlifts and getting some more close grip rowing type things might help me get some size there. Maybe not on this cut, since I've been weight training for a number of years. I'm not really going to be probably gaining muscle while I'm cutting, but on my next, you know, bulking phase that I try to do, that would probably be the thing to do to try and get a little bit more size in the lats. You know, either that or some PEDs, that would probably help, I'm sure. These floor mats I actually got from a local place. There's a place called Show Me Weights. I'm in St. Louis. They're just down the road. And they just, I mean, they have everything. I probably could have gotten a power rack from them. Some of my iron weights are from them, but they had these stall mats that are only like, I don't know, 50 or 60 for these 4x8s. And this room ended up working out perfect because it's perfectly 12 feet wide. So I was able to fit in, you know, a 4x8 mat, a 4x8 piece of plywood, and another 4x8 mat. And that worked pretty well. All right, let's get another row. It's 9 o'clock. Oh, I might have to cut this short, guys. Actually, I've got a meeting that I need to get to, so I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna be just a hair late so that I can wrap up with you all. And I told you we would talk about nutrition. So, all right, yesterday was Monday the 24th. You can see we were 11 calories under at 1589, our 1600 goal. And again, that 1600 is like, there's buffer. So if I hit 1700, 1800, that's fine. But any day that I can hit 1600 is great because that gives me a buffer on another day that I need to go higher calorie or I want to go higher calorie, and then still be able to average 1800 for the week. Protein was 169, just short of our 180 goal. I need to update these goals. You can see 198, 198. That's when I first started doing this back in 2010. That's for a higher calorie cut at about a half pound or a pound of body weight. So we had our coffee yesterday with our almond milk and protein. Lunch was a chicken taco soup. I did indulge in some tortilla chips. Man, my Achilles heel, they're so yummy, but they're actually, they're like a wolf in sheep's clothing. They are so innocuous, but they're very caloric, high in calories. Protein bar, and for dinner, that was Mexican cabbage soup, which was, pretty low calorie because it's cabbage and then some venison is what this was. So I actually had to, I was going to be way low in my protein, so I had some Greek yogurt with a bunch of, I got this rich chocolate and vanilla cream and some chocolate chips in that Greek yogurt. It makes it like pudding. It's kind of like a snack hack. I had an apple earlier in the day, some caramel rice snacks, and another protein yogurt. So that was yesterday. Today, we're probably going to shoot for some of the same. I'll probably have some of that leftover Mexican cabbage soup again. As far as you can see, it thinks my body fat percentage is 24. That's probably higher than what it is. It's probably closer to 20. But these scales can only do so much. Weight. Yesterday was 197.9. Today is 195.9, so I probably lost a bunch of water weight, probably some fat in there too, but big differences day to day like that, I don't really, I take them with a grain of salt, right? I look at the week average. So last week I averaged 198. So this week, I want to be averaging 196. So it's only been 2 days. I'm at 197. I've got a few more days. If I have a few more days at 196, I'll hit it no problem. And that's the goal. Weekly averages, that's a tip. If I haven't mentioned before, you definitely should be doing. You should definitely be weighing yourself every day because it will fluctuate so much from day to day. But over the week, you'll have a nice average. And that's how you can, when you see those weekly averages going down, that's how you know you're being consistent. You're losing weight or gaining weight. Try to do it at the same time every day. I do mine first thing when I wake up after I go to the bathroom. So I haven't consumed anything that's going to change from day to day. No coffee or breakfast or anything that's going to influence, that weight. And I've emptied myself as much as I can. So it's pretty, as consistent as you can be, I guess. So yeah, I think that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.